Back in 2011, a series came out on HBO based on the novels of George R. Martin, Song of Ice and Fire. It was called Game of Thrones. I'm sure many of you are aware and have watched the series. For those of you that haven't, it had a very medieval feel to it, something like War of the Roses. But there were other stories, other things in the text and side plots that really didn't go with much of what we know to be medieval history. In today's video, I'm going to share something with you that's probably going to shock some folks, so you might want to sit down. Now, this was one of the most popular images from the show. It was at the very end. It was one of the dragons that had been killed and then reincarnated as an ice dragon. Now, many of you have seen my videos on Antarctica and the things that we found down there. There's more in common than you might think with that series and Antarctica. I know that sounds like a very crazy thing, but just stick with me. Whenever Hollywood wants to tell a story or tell the truth, and they want to tell it to a large audience, they have to use certain tactics and techniques to get stuff published. Many were, of course, distracted by all of the somewhat gratuitous imagery throughout the series. It was the big knock on it because there was a lot of things that were really meant for only adult eyes. There was this Queen of Dragons, Emilia Clarke. She had 3 Drogon, Rhaegal, and Viserion. Viserion, the one at the bottom, is the one that ends up dying and being reincarnated as the Ice Dragon. Now, strangely enough, in my videos, I never talk about Game of Thrones specifically when I do Antarctica videos, but I've shown 5 different locations down there where there is undeniable imagery of dragons. I've also shown ancient maps that portray giants being chased by winged dragons. So we have 3 things here. We have Hollywood, we have Google Earth Pro, and I will, of course, give you all of the locations, and I'll actually give you the links to the videos where I show the locations as well. And then we have historical maps, all showing us the same thing. Now, my personal favorite part of Game of Thrones were these 2 characters. On the right, we have, of course, Peter Baelish. Littlefinger, the actor Aidan Gillen, did an amazing job. And then on the left, we have Cersei Lannister, Lena Headey, once again. Fantastic jobs, both of them. Personally, I think they were the 2 best. Written into their characters was a great deal of wisdom, which is really kind of strange. You wouldn't naturally associate Game of Thrones with wisdom. People think, wait a minute, hold on, that's just a whole bunch of naked girls and a lot of gratuitous imagery and dragons and sword fights and all this kind of stuff. I just wanted to share some of the things that were said by these 2 characters and maybe have you kind of chew on that when I show you later on the imagery from Antarctica that correlates directly with Game of Thrones. On the left, Cersei Lannister, very complicated character. A good king knows when to save his strength and when to destroy his enemies. There are times to fight and there are times to not. No matter who you are, no matter how strong you are, sooner or later, you'll face circumstances beyond your control. There are no bargains between lions and men. See, her character has kind of a seamy side. She has this relationship going on with her brother, and they have children, and it has a lot to do with the way their childhood was, but we're not going to get too far into that. She says, people will whisper, they'll make their jokes, let them. Now, she's a very thoughtful, kind of scheming character, And it's only when she gets out of her thinking brain and into her feeling brain that she meets her end. Same thing on the right with Peter Baelish. He takes the idea of maintaining mental control to another level. Everything has some aspect that needs to be analyzed. When you know what a man wants, you know who he is, you know how to move him. The past is the past, the future is all that's worth discussing. Always keep your foes confused. If they are never certain who you are or what you want, they cannot know what you are likely to do next. Sometimes the best way to baffle them is to make moves that have no purpose or even seem like they are working against you. What we don't know is really what gets us killed. Because which is more dangerous, the dagger brandished by an enemy or the hidden one pressed to your back by someone you never even met? And then, of course, the final quote I'll use here. People die at their dinner tables. They die in their beds. They die squatting over their chamber pots. Everyone dies sooner or later. Don't worry about your death. Worry about your life. Take charge of your life as long as it lasts. All great wisdom. All fantastic wisdom. Now, as promised, I want to show you guys something that I don't think is any kind of a coincidence, given what else we've shown. On the right here, I have the official map of Westeros and Essos, the world view, the entire Game of Thrones world. Personally, George R.R. Martin, I know, is a wonderful writer, but I think he might have borrowed something from some hidden history. I think he may have borrowed something from some hidden history. Now, on the right, as you can see, we have what they call the narrow sea here. And then we have this spit of land, and then it shows down here in the lower right, it gets very, very green in this area called Gothorgos, which they don't really refer to much in the series. But then it gets kind of more desert-like, somewhat like parts of Argentina. And then it gets very desert-like, and then there's this little strip of sea. And then there's the land of Dorne. This is the main area right here. I'll kind of zoom in. This is King's Landing down here in your lower right. This is where most of the show takes place. This is the wall up here. Let's see if we can maybe move this real quick. Hold on. The land of always winter. The frost fangs. The dread fort. And this is, of course, the wall. Now, on the left, I have the Antarctic Peninsula where it meets the south of Argentina and Tierra del Fuego. I've made allegation before. This gap wasn't always this big. In fact, we can even see on older maps, and I've shown this multiple times, that this area and this area were literally right on top of each other. Look at this on the left and look at what they show here. It's virtually the same place. It is virtually the same place. This area called the Narrow Sea, imagine 300, 500, 1,000 years ago. I think there is a history out there. This is what I truly believe, that is known by some, but it's not taught in schools. It's not on the net, so to speak. That tells an entirely different story of the past. And this is where it was. We've also shown maps that have castles. 15th and 16th century maps that show castles in South America. What we know to be South America, Argentina, Brazil. There are no castles that we know of now. But what if? What if this story isn't just a story? What if there is a history we haven't heard that mimics part of Europe, but also mimics other parts of the world as well? The characters that they talk about, the land of Dorne, Karth, the stories of dragons, where would they have even gotten the ideas? Most of the stories of dragons come out of Europe. There's not even small lizards in Europe like there are here in Florida. Where would they have gotten the stories for giant winged dragons? All fiction is based in some reality. Where would they have gotten that imagery? Personally, I think I know. What they call Westeros, Essos, this narrow sea, the Dothraki Sea, all of this. At one time, it was real. I'm sure they've taken license. I'm sure they have taken license with some things for Hollywood purposes, but that's what you have to do to get heard. That's what you have to do to get seen. And someone might be quietly trying to reveal this. That there is an entire continent, a whole world on our own planet that we have ignored. And we have ignored for hundreds and hundreds of years. It's my personal belief that future historians are going to record the 20th and 21st century as the great ignorance. Because while we attempted to explore space and other planets, an entire world on our own was lost to time. No one's ever going to convince me it's easier to go to Mars than it would be to begin exploring a continent that is bigger than the entirety of Europe. Many people don't realize that either. Antarctica is bigger than all of Europe. The similarities are just too striking, and given what we've been able to find ourselves with Google Earth Pro, and once again, I will give you the locations, I'll give you the videos. Google Earth Pro is free. You can download the program to even a basic laptop, and you can go find that imagery, the ones I showed earlier. See if I can bring that back up here. This is a video I did 15 December 2019. 5 dragons in a lair now uncovered in Antarctica. Conclusive, irrefutable evidence they are real. Especially the center image. All sorts of different layers, different locations. It would be virtually impossible to make this up. It would be impossible to do, give the locations in Google Earth Pro, and not have all of these videos be debunked by now. That's really the biggest evidence of all. That as many people that like to point fingers and laugh and make jokes, like Lena Headley said, no one has tried to debunk anything. These tactics are sometimes necessary. I don't make the rules, I just play by them. And that's why I covered the parts about Peter Baelish and Cersei Lannister. Because they were realists. They understood what the Game of Thrones was really about. And it wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't fun, it wasn't right. It just was what it was. And they both met their end in the series by not taking their own advice. Which is really quite ironic, but it was an incredibly well-written series. A lot of people think it ended badly. I can't say that I disagree with that. I'll also give you the link to the map that they put out of Westeros so that you can literally bring up on your own device what I've just shown here. And you can make your own decision. So anyway, happy Sunday. God bless. Hope everyone's had a good weekend and will have a good week. Like, share, subscribe, and we will see you next time.